$1 billion for a company with no product, no revenue, and no plans to ship anything for at least a year. That's the seed round. Yann LeCun just closed for AMI Labs, the largest seed investment in European history to build AI that understands physics instead of language. Meanwhile, ByteDance quietly open-sourced DeerFlow 2.0, the multi-agent orchestration system they've been running internally, and it hit #1 on GitHub Trending within 24 hours. Two very different visions for what AI should become next, and both landed this week. Let's get into it. ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, released DeerFlow 2.0 on February 27, 2026. DeerFlow stands for Deep Exploration and Efficient Research Flow, and version 2.0 is a complete ground-up rewrite that shares no code with the original. It's an open-source superagent harness built on top of LangGraph and LangChain, and it does something most agent frameworks still struggle with. It orchestrates multiple AI subagents working in parallel, each with their own memory, their own tools, and their own sandboxed Docker execution environment. The architecture works like this. When you give DeerFlow a complex task, say research a market, write a report, and build a dashboard, a lead agent breaks that prompt into logical subtasks through multi-step planning. It then spawns scoped subagents, each assigned to one piece of the job. One agent might scrape the web for funding data, another runs competitor analysis, a third generates charts and images. They all run simultaneously in isolated Docker containers, which means they can execute Python scripts, bash commands, and manipulate files without risking your actual infrastructure. If an agent crashes or produces garbage, it fails safely inside its sandbox. The system also ships with persistent memory. Agents remember your writing style, your project structures, and your preferences across sessions. That's significant, because most agent frameworks treat every interaction as a blank slate. DeerFlow handles 4 main categories autonomously: deep web research with cited sources, content creation with integrated visuals, code execution in secure environments, and asset generation, including full slide decks and UI components. It supports 3 deployment modes: local for development, Docker for single-server production, and Kubernetes for multi-server environments. It's MIT licensed, fully self-hostable, and works with local models through Ollama or frontier models like GPT-4, Claude, and Gemini. No API lock-in. Within 1 day of release, it hit #2 on GitHub Trending. By day 2, it was #1. The agent framework space is in a Cambrian explosion right now. 5 major frameworks launched or gained significant traction in February 2026 alone, and analysts are predicting consolidation to 2 or 3 winners by 2027. DeerFlow 2.0 matters because it comes from production. ByteDance didn't build this as a demo or a research project. They built it as an internal tool, watched their own teams push it far beyond its original scope. People were building automated data pipelines, spinning up real-time dashboards, creating entire web applications, and then they rewrote it from scratch and open-sourced it. The specific pattern worth studying is the lead agent to sub-agent orchestration with scoped isolation. Most single-agent systems hit a wall when tasks get complex. The context window fills up, the agent loses track of what it's doing, and outputs degrade. DeerFlow solves this by decomposing work across multiple agents, each with a narrow scope and its own execution environment. That's also where the risks live. When multiple agents share memory and context, one agent's bad conclusion can propagate through the entire system, contaminating every other agent's reasoning. The sandboxing helps on the execution side, but intellectual isolation between agents is a design problem that every multi-agent builder will have to solve. The MIT license and self-hosting options mean any developer can fork this today and start building on it. That's a real accelerant for the ecosystem. Watch for 2 things. First, how fast the open-source community extends DeerFlow with custom skills and integrations. The plugin architecture is designed for it. Second, watch whether enterprises start standardizing on this pattern of lead agent orchestration with sandboxed subagents. If DeerFlow becomes the default template for production multi-agent systems, ByteDance will have quietly set the architecture standard for the entire agentic AI wave. So DeerFlow is about making today's language models more capable by letting them work together as coordinated teams. But there's a much bigger question underneath all of this. Are language models themselves the right foundation for AI that actually does things in the real world? One of the most prominent voices in AI just put $1 billion behind the argument that they're not. Yann LeCun, Turing Award winner, former chief AI scientist at Meta, and professor of computer science at NYU, has co-founded a new startup called AMI Labs. AMI stands for Advanced Machine Intelligence, and it's pronounced like the French word for friend. On March 10, 2026, AMI announced a $1.03 billion seed round at a $3.5 billion pre-money valuation, making it the largest seed investment in European history. The company is just 4 months old. The round was co-led by Paris-based Cathay Innovation, Greycroft, Hero Capital, and HV Capital, along with Jeff Bezos through Bezos Expeditions. Strategic backers include NVIDIA, Toyota Ventures, Samsung, Temasek, Mark Cuban, the Dassault Group, and Bpifrance Digital Venture. That investor list tells you a lot about what AMI is building. It's heavy on robotics, hardware, and manufacturing money. LeCun serves as executive chairman. Day-to-day operations are run by CEO Alexandre Lebrun, a French entrepreneur who previously founded Nabla, the medical AI startup. The founding team is drawn almost entirely from Meta's AI research organization, including Mike Rabbitt as VP of World Models, Saining Ji as Chief Science Officer from Google DeepMind, and Pascal Fung as Chief Research and Innovation Officer. What AMI is building are world models, AI systems that learn how the physical world actually works, rather than predicting which word comes next. The core technology is based on JEPA, the Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, that LeCun first proposed in 2022. Instead of predicting the future in pixel-perfect detail, JEPA learns abstract representations of physical reality, how objects move, how forces interact, what happens when you push something off a table. LeCun has been arguing for years that large language models are statistical pattern matchers incapable of genuine reasoning, planning, or understanding physical reality. AMI is his attempt to prove that a fundamentally different approach grounded in sensor data and physics rather than text can produce AI that actually understands the world. The company is headquartered in Paris, with offices planned in New York, Montreal, and Singapore. LeCun was direct with reporters. AMI has no product, no revenue, and will spend its entire first year on pure research and development. $1 billion is a staggering amount of money for a company that openly says it won't have a product for at least a year. But the investor list explains the thesis. NVIDIA, Toyota Ventures, Samsung, Dassault. These are companies that need AI to work in the physical world. Robots on factory floors, autonomous vehicles navigating traffic, drones inspecting infrastructure. None of those applications are well served by language models, no matter how good the language models get. This is what researchers call Moravec's paradox. The tasks that are hard for humans, math, chess, logic, turned out to be easy for computers, while the tasks that are easy for humans, walking, catching a ball, understanding that a cup will fall if you push it off a table, remain incredibly difficult for AI. World models are a direct attack on that paradox. They aim to give machines the kind of intuitive physical understanding that a 2-year-old has, but GPT-4 does not. The competitive landscape matters too. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google are dominating the LLM space, and it's hard to see a new entrant winning that race. But world models are still nascent. The playing field is genuinely open, and LeCun is arguably the most credentialed person on the planet to lead this research. $1 billion buys him the runway to find out if he's right. AMI's first year is pure R&D with no product timeline, so don't expect demos soon. The thing to watch is hiring. Specifically, whether AMI can pull top robotics and embodied AI researchers away from Google DeepMind, Tesla, and Figure. The Singapore office signals intent to work closely with Asian manufacturing and robotics companies, which is where the first real-world applications of world models will likely land. If JEPA-based systems start showing up in robotics pilots within 18 months, the entire AI investment thesis shifts. We're watching the AI industry split into 2 tracks in real time: systems that make language models work better together right now, and long-horizon bets on entirely new architectures that might take years to pay off. The question worth sitting with is whether those tracks eventually converge, whether the agents of 2028 run on world models instead of LLMs. If you want to keep tracking that question, subscribe. We cover AI and tech news every day. See you in the next one.